Today is June 4th, an emergency rant podcast with Mad Men Sports.
Jake, drumroll, please. End.
So, apparently, Roger Goodell was at Jim Kelly's golf tournament talking about how the Bills basically need to shit or get off the pot in regards to a new stadium. You guys hear about that?
Yeah, I heard about that. I'm not happy with that.
Wrong time, Roger.
Oh, man,
Wrong time.
I was stewing all day today. It was ridiculous.
Really? Why? Are you for or against a new stadium?
I'm just not okay with it being, like, just out of the blue on a Monday. I'm sitting there, at work. It's the Monday blues. And then Roger Goodell comes into my town and just drops that on my lap.
Well, technically, he's always been near your town.
That's not true.
Roger's always
New York City isn't near my Buffalo.
But isn't he from Jamestown?
Yeah, he's not.
I don't think he lives there right now.
Yeah, he's not there
Listen,
currently. Whose side are you on, Jake?
Oh, I gotta get out of here.
I know you say it's a pro Zay Jones podcast, but are you pro Roger Goodell right now?
That'd be a bad call.
No, I'm gonna be the first to go on record. Roger Goodell is an idiot.
Not a fan, that's for
all
sure.
I want to hear. All right.
So he walks into town today, and he's, at a charity golf tournament. Okay, so obviously you got to ask the question, about the stadium. So you can't fault the guy for answering it, but maybe you could dodge the question a little bit rather than trying to put the whole city and the county and the Pagulas themselves on notice today.
Yeah, I don't know, guys. That's kind of a scare tactic, I think. I'm always in that camp because the stadium talk's been going on since Ralph Wilson was alive. We've been talking about a stadium for close to 20 years now. I'm a fan of the stadium staying in Orchard Park if they were to build one. I'm not a fan of the stadium being built downtown. I'm also not a fan of Roger Goodell. What about you, Jake?
Well, I'm going to dissect what you said. Yeah, we have been saying this for the past 20 years, but New Era Field definitely isn't what it was 20 years ago, and it's not going to be in the next 10 years when we really start thinking about building that stadium. So, I mean, yeah, we might not be ready for a stadium right now, but we might be in the next 10, 15, 20 years, so you have to kind of keep that in mind here, David.
And as far as we know, the Pagulas are talking about it. Terry Pagula was asked about it a couple months ago about the city financing it, and he said he doesn't know yet. So it's kind of sounded like he's trying to do it without involving the city paying taxes, which is possible and would be sweet, but not realistic.
Here, you mentioned that. Let me cut it in here. You mentioned that, but did you know in the last 8 years that $13 billion has been put into NFL stadiums, and out of that $13 billion, $11 billion has been privately funded? That's a big number, right? We all think like, oh man, the NFL's just taking over all these cities, but in reality, privately funded is really what's happening in all these stadiums. It's not really the counties and the states really chipping in as much as it is, just finding private funding around here.
Yeah, but if we're worried about tax dollars here, I mean, the amount of money that's going to be pumped into the local economy in the event that the Bills Stadium is going to be pushed downtown is going to be astronomical.
Not just that, you put one downtown, you get hotels, you get stadiums these days in Atlanta, Dallas, they're like museums now. People just go sometimes just to check out stadiums. They're gorgeous, so I agree. The stadium itself is just gorgeous to look at. We went to the Met Stadium probably 3 weeks ago, and that was gorgeous to see, wasn't it, guys?
Yeah, only 10 years old, too.
Yeah.
Think about what a brand new stadium is going to look like. And when you think about a brand new stadium, think about what all the money and all the, the attention that the Pagulas have brought down to downtown Buffalo. This is their cherry on top, bringing the football stadium down in the alley right next to, the KeyBank Center. Mm-hmm. This is their cherry on top. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Philadelphia, but Philadelphia has all their stadiums right on one little island right outside of this, the downtown section. Mm-hmm. Who's to say that that's not what the Pagulas want to do with having, Duntire Park, I don't even know what it's called now, Salins Field, KeyBank Center, just, 3-4 blocks down there, Black Button Whiskey around the corner. You got, New Era Field.
Grove Street. I mean, everything's there. The Cobblestone District, the casino after.
This would be the cherry on top for downtown Buffalo.
As a side note, I had Black Button Whiskey for the first time that day. It was delicious, but we'll get there later.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually. It's wonderful, honestly.
Yeah, really good. That Loganberry.
Yeah, but think about it. All the action downtown, the bars, the distilleries, just the stadiums themselves, the restaurants, like Dave said, the hotels. There's so much that could go down there.
The negatives
downtown.
with that, though, is you see all these other Bills Mafia and all that. They can't tailgate the way they do now. Tables sales are going to not be as big as they used to.
Listen, I have the perfect rebuttal to that. You want to see them try to tamper all this tailgating in the actual parking lots in Orchard Park? They want to bring the stadium downtown because they want to cut all that out. I mean, whether you like the tailgating, whether you appreciate that people jumping off the buses or not, the Pagulas hate it. It's a bad look for the city. It's a bad look for the team.
People should be going to the games because the Bills are winning, not because of the tailgate.
Absolutely, and that goes back to the Pagulas. It's on them to put a winning product out there. I mean, these fans have been putting out, quality quality fanning, right? I mean, as much as I can make fanning a verb, but the team has done terrible teaming. I mean, we haven't seen a 10-win team in Buffalo in forever.
Yeah, let's talk about
it. Seems like forever.
I mean, you said it's going to kill tailgating as it once was. I mean, yeah, I guess it's going to kind of commercialize the whole thing, but, I mean, you're going to be 10 minutes away from the Outer Harbor. Everyone just go on a field.
I love the Outer Harbor, honestly. It's beautiful.
Get hammered.
I seriously mean that.
I mean, it's not going to kill it. You're still going to find ways to get hammered, jump through tables. Whether it's going to be on the street, in a bar, or in the Outer Harbor.
It's just
everything's there.
It's just like prom in high school, and they told us how to get drunk. We still found ways to get drunk.
Exactly.
Listen, you can take the madman out of the fan, but you can't take the fan out of the madman. You know what
exactly.
I mean?
Yeah, it's good. I can only see upsides. I know people are going to be like, "Oh, the nostalgia value." I mean, we're in the 21st century. We can't keep holding on to those 4 Super Bowls. We got to move forward. We got to get that bad juju out. I mean, I am 1,000% for the new stadium. I mean,
yeah, it sounds like you're for the new stadium. I'm way for the new stadium.
Detroit was a shit show before they built Ford Field.
And they put Ford Field right next to Comerica Park, which is exactly what Buffalo could do, and just make that an alley. They got the Labatt House there. I mean, the Pagulas have just... this is their cherry on top. I can't emphasize that enough. It is almost more likely than not going to happen at this point that it's going downtown.
I'm for a new stadium, but I'm not for a stadium going downtown. I love the location it's at. There's nothing wrong with just building a stadium across the street in the ECC lot.
But I mean, Dave, the city of Buffalo isn't gaining anything, isn't profiting off the Bills Stadium in Orchard Park. So Orchard Park has enough money within it; it can survive without it. So why do you think it has to stay in Orchard Park?
Is there a location downtown right now that you see the Bills Stadium going in?
Yeah, the Perry Projects, for instance. I mean, they haven't...
Another P.
They've terminated all their leases, so I mean, no one's moving out. Or no one's...
Moving in.
Moving in there, excuse me, yeah.
It's becoming a dead brown space.
Okay, well, I did not know that.
Yeah.
And that's just 3 blocks away from the actual, arena. So, like I've been saying and kind of trying to, gather info on here, is you could put it right there. And I swear, they're trying to get rid of the Skyway as more of a means to,
that was my
circulate
next
traffic.
Argument, Jake, was transportation. Transportation is already awful in Orchard Park.
That's why
it's not going to get any better.
Uber.
Listen, you guys say Uber, but if we throw a stadium downtown, that only forces the county, the city, and the state's hand to enhance public transportation in the city of Buffalo.
Let me go off.
Go ahead. Go off, King.
Oh, my God. So, my biggest gripe with the city of Buffalo is that there's not more public transportation options.
Get that ass.
We have one subway line that goes from UB to Canal Side.
Straight down one street.
So, if we expand that, that's just going to benefit everyone. It's going to create more revenue
enhances the
for
whole city. Everything's more accessible.
I agree, but that's not going to happen overnight. That's a 10-year project.
And they're already
stadium isn't happening overnight.
And they're already putting state money into expanding the railways in the Metro Rail.
Perfect, yeah. So I'm not saying that the Bill Stadium is going to magically appear in the Perry Projects tomorrow. It's going to take 10, 15, maybe 20 years for that to happen. So while that's kind of taking place, we expand our infrastructure, we expand our transportation, and we'll be golden.
So listen, while I'm sitting here and saying that I want a stadium downtown, I do not think that it was the time nor the place for Roger Goodell to bring this up. Now, yes, like I mentioned, he was asked the question. He didn't answer the question, but I think there was other ways for him to go around this. Like, I just don't think that at a charity golf event on a Monday, at a press related situation, was a place to get Bills fans who have been through well more than enough with a losing team, and then B, the constant uncertainty of whether the small market can consistently hold up and support a team in the NFL nowadays, which even St. Louis, a city that's almost 4 times as big as Buffalo, had their team ripped out from them and thrown in LA. And now it's San Diego
Oakland too.
Yeah, I mean,
you can't compare us to them because we have a huge fan base, the same fan base as a New England product who wins every year. We have the same fan base as that. St. Louis doesn't.
But there's more money in St. Louis.
Doesn't.
There's more money in St. Louis. We're constantly sit here and we're constantly told by the national media and the NFL themselves that we're nothing. We're just blue collar people that don't have a voice and can't financially support an NFL franchise nowadays.
Yeah.
But here we are spending tickets. Me and Jake got our invoices. We pay $950 each for a season ticket. It's ridiculous. We are doing our best to constantly fund this team. And I was talking to someone else we tailgate with. He pays $950. I mean, yeah, we pay it every year because that's what we do. But it constantly, if we stopped and thought about it, it's a huge financial burden on us.
Yeah, and it's only, I mean, this is the only gripe I have with a new stadium is a personal seat license. That's not something that I want.
Which is almost the reason why I want the state and county and the city to kind of help fund this. I know it's not something that everyone's on board with because it helps taxes, but as a fan and a guy that has season tickets, the Pagulas can't turn around and say, oh, we're going to charge the people that we use tax dollars from, to make and pay for a personal seat license because it's not privately funded. That's what they do to raise money. It's how they kind of break even, if not make a little money off of building a new stadium right away.
Exactly, and we don't know how much the taxes are going to affect us because, as I said, commercially, it's going to boom Buffalo. I mean, so many businesses are going to benefit from this new stadium that, hey, that tax money might be from those businesses and not from the citizens. So we don't know until we get more answers. And I know it's early, but, I mean, you can't kind of get really mad at Goodell because, I mean, what are you going to ask the NFL commissioner?
Yeah,
rule information.
He was
stadiums.
Honest.
I mean, you can't fault him
for whatever report I'm asked them at. Shame on them. That's not the place to ask. That's also, he was honest at the same time.
Listen,
but we don't like Goodell.
If we want to get into the tax problems here, there's 925,000 people that live in Erie County as of 2017. Yes, that number is constantly fluctuating with people leaving Buffalo, and there's people coming into Buffalo. There's a little bit of an economic boom right now. So it's not like everyone's going to be hit hard. It might be $3 just to, fund this thing per person. That's not crazy. It's not crazy to keep and fund an NFL stadium if we all just pull together as Erie County and kind of help out with the cost of this thing. I'm all for it.
It's so weird because it's such a touchy subject for no reason, I think. Fans just get super, super butthurt when anything changes within the Bills organization. It's ridiculous. It's like we're stuck in the 1990s.
People don't
Listen, we had an 8-year veteran, and now don't quote me on his years, I believe it's 8 years. Fred Jackson was cut, but we went out and got Shady that year. Like, it's okay to constantly upgrade if we're kind of moving things around, right?
Exactly. I mean, do you want to be known as the laughingstock of the NFL? I mean, we almost are right now.
Now, when you say laughingstock, do you mean like because our stadium's old and ancient?
I mean, it's kind of a combination of a lot of things. I mean, we've known that playoff drought for a number of years. I mean, we are a small market. We do have an old stadium. Not the oldest, I don't have the exact numbers, but I mean, everything about Buffalo kind of screams
Soldier Field's
lower
the oldest.
tier.
That's just a fact for our listeners. Soldier Field's the oldest.
And I think Soldier Field's a lot nicer than New Airfield.
Soldier Field's not getting a Super Bowl anytime soon, though.
That's true, too. Because when you get a new stadium lately, as you can see from just like Atlanta and Minnesota, are we getting that's a whole another conversation. Do we get a dome? Because we don't get a Super Bowl without a dome. You know what I'm saying?
At that point.
So if we do decide to keep the stadium, because there is a conversation about that we can have, because places like Kansas City have pumped a ton of money into renovating their stadium, and it has become, acceptable to the standards. They did that just 2 years ago, acceptable to the NFL standards by Goodell's, checkmark list. Mm-hmm. So that's something they could do there. So the Bills do have the possibility to do that. And, rest in peace, Russ Brandon, because he's no longer with us. But he said he wanted to make New Era Field, which at the time Ralph Wilson Stadium, he wanted to make that the Fenway Park of the NFL, which obviously with Lambeau and Soldier Field, you can't really do that. So I think it's just fascinating to see what the Bills have as their options moving forward. And the main point of this podcast is, Pro Football Talk on Twitter kind of got me going today a little bit because they were like, "Oh, this is a very targeted attack by Roger Goodell to the city of Buffalo and kind of the legislator," and I disagree with that wholeheartedly because while I am mad that he said it, I do think there was a time and a place, and it's a little bit of the reporter. He was just answering a question, and like Dave has been reiterating throughout this whole podcast, this isn't anything new to us. So by him saying that, this wasn't like a shock to us. We're not on a ticking time clock. The NFL rules literally are in place that Terry Pegula and Kim Pegula can't own the Buffalo Sabres and still own the Bills if they move. You can't have two separate cities of the owners. So it's just, we're as safe as we've ever been right now.
Yeah, we moved on from the Bills moving out of Buffalo to where's the stadium going? Which is a huge positive.
Can I spit a hot take?
Give me it.
All right, so this is kind of backtracking to your dome. I know you didn't technically want to go there, but I'm so sick and tired of people kind of raving about the cold weather football. That doesn't help us in the slightest. I mean, what?
The players don't live here.
Exactly. We have one snow game every couple of years.
That's horrible.
To your point, none of the Bills players are acclimated to play in the snow. They're all from California, Texas. They live here for 3 months. We have no advantage playing in the snow.
Yeah, John Murphy, I'll say this, that I completely agree with you. John Murphy says that all the time. I agree with you. There's probably one really bad snow game every 3 years.
But how about this? Listen, you want to talk about...
It's cold. It gets cold for sure.
You want to talk about people loving the snow games? Then fucking go to them, honestly. Because I go to those games and there's no one there.
No, exactly.
You're all sitting there on your TV, sitting on the couch watching it. It's cool to see.
We moved seats maybe 7 times.
Yeah. I mean, because we couldn't see anywhere. We're the first row of the 300s. We couldn't see from our seats what was going on there. So we just kept moving down closer to the field, saw Kelvin Benjamin catch a nice touchdown. But other than that, you couldn't see a damn thing all game. So my message to the people that are like, no dome, we got to keep it cold. Go to the games then.
Exactly.
Show me you actually want that, because you don't show me you actually want that. I'm at the games. You're not.
Nobody will have a problem sitting in 10-degree weather with the blizzard if the Bills are winning. They didn't have a problem with it in the early 90s.
Yeah, but
they made the playoffs the season they had
the Bills are dominating in the snow in recent memory. I mean, they're all really close games. It's not like it's so much of an advantage to us that we wouldn't sacrifice a dome stadium.
Listen, it just doesn't matter. Give him a dome. You got a guy like Josh Allen. Take him out of the elements. Don't put wind against him ever.
Give him a roof's an option too.
Maybe it is. And I'm not saying that's a terrible idea either. But you take Josh Allen out of the elements, you got a guy that, he's consistent all the way through.
Or there is new stadiums that have been built, like Heinz Field, that don't have domes. So not having a dome is definitely an option, and an option I would like.
Yeah, but I mean brand new. Heinz Field isn't new.
Heinz Field is still 8 years new.
Yeah, but in this climate, with all these new stadiums being put in, we're building a new stadium to bring money to Buffalo, and having a Super Bowl in the stadium would bring boatloads of money.
And listen, I know people are going to listen to this and say, and point here and here about the times where Super Bowls went to cities and they end up losing money in the downtown, the entertainment districts. But I disagree. I think Buffalo's a rabid fan base that people living here would love to experience the time of a Super Bowl. Whether it breaks even on the city or not, they're willing to put their money into, it could be the Patriots playing against the Cardinals. People would still want to go see that. They would want to be involved in the hustle and bustle. They want the experience. Think about Canada. Canada hasn't been close to a Super Bowl ever. You would be able to attract from Toronto, Hamilton, Ontario.
Well, just 4 years ago, the Jets and Giants Stadium had a Super Bowl, so it is possible.
Yeah, that was a horrible game. It
was awful. Yeah, that had nothing to do with the weather.
That was a point proven that they will never have an outdoor game ever again.
But at least all week you had to hear about the weather. Oh, how's it going to be? When the game started, the weather was fine, and that's what happens in Buffalo. Everyone's always worried about the weather, and then when it comes game time, you forget about it and focus on the game.
Yeah. So as I was saying about a conversation I didn't want to get into, but I'm happy to get into now because Jake kind of pried it out of me. If you guys want an open stadium because of the snow, then go to the snow games, because I am there and I don't want a stadium that's open any longer. I'm only getting older here. It's just not something I want to sit through. It's not something I want to drive home from. And listen, I'm a Buffalonian.
Have you ever sat in a dome to watch football?
Yeah, when they moved from the Snowvember game, when they moved from...
Did that feel like a normal football game to you?
No, because nothing about that game was normal, because it was a 7 o'clock Monday night game, and it was a home game for the Bills in Detroit. So
if people don't change about a stadium, they're not going to change when they're sitting in a dome and don't have the elements of the weather.
Listen, I think it could enhance the fan experience tenfold, though.
Exactly. And it just kind of expands the amount of things that you can do. It's a multi-use stadium. So you're getting concerts, you're getting a whole bunch of things.
You get Jay-Z and Beyonce more often than you were.
That's true, but we still do have the Sabres Arena downtown.
Yeah,
That's
but you're just making a bigger arena. You're attracting larger artists to come there because they can sell more tickets.
Absolutely. And think about it. I was just downtown at the convention center 2 weeks ago for the Buffalo Marathon. They have been dying to find an excuse to renovate or get out of that building as a whole. They could make that stadium a multi-use stadium and have the convention center in the new era stadium downtown in Buffalo. I think there's so many uses they could do with this, and I'm so excited to see what could become of this. So the main takeaway from this podcast is very poor timing on Roger Goodell's part and the reporter's part. It's not just Roger Goodell's fault here. We don't name the reporter because we're not here to bash anyone in the actual media
Just
field.
Roger Goodell.
Yeah, but Roger Goodell's the easiest headhunt here because he could have dodged this question and gave a completely different answer, and then it wouldn't have the vultures of the national media come down on the poor people of Buffalo. I mean, that's us, and just kind of pick us apart on a time where we really don't even want it. I mean, it's like the first couple days of June. Let us enjoy our first summer. It was 44 degrees this morning. It's not a nice time.
No.
Stop kicking us when we're down.
I'll say this: it's all exciting things. Talks are open. Season's on its way, guys.
Yeah, don't worry about this. We're there's more of this where it came from.
Give me a dome.
Yeah, this is Diamond Dave. This is Jake, and this is Zach. Any questions? Please leave them on the YouTube page. And where else can they find us?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, guys, if you have an opinion that's strong enough about this, leave a comment in the YouTube section or on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere you can find us. Drop your opinion. We'll respond.
Please sway me. I mean, I would love to change my mind if I can.
We love interacting with fans in the comments, honestly.
Please tell me you support me by keeping the stadium in Orchard Park, guys.
And listen, this is one last point that I wanted to touch on. Dave just kind of hit it off with him saying that keep the stadium in Orchard Park. Toronto, huge city. They have the practice facilities, because I know people are going to mention the point that they just made those practice facilities brand new. It's what, a 15-minute drive from Orchard Park to downtown?
Exactly.
You can keep the practice facilities in Orchard Park. That's a space constraint anywhere in the world. You know, space is only limited.
And players are staying in that Marriott anyways before game day.
Exactly. Just leave the practice facilities in Orchard Park. You can still use that space. There's nothing wrong with just wasting that space. People want to say, what are you going to do with that stadium? You can still have that. Leave that all there. Front office, everything there. Maybe they'd probably move the front office, but you can leave the practice facility there. You know, offices, stuff like that. You could build up that part in Orchard Park. There's things you can still do in Orchard Park. We're not just leaving them to dry. The Louis on, Southwestern Boulevard?
That holds a special place in my heart.
You could still have that restaurant be successful.
We should go there tonight.
Okay, I'm game.
Yeah, guys.
Let's wrap this up.
Good night.
We're going to Louis.